Thank you, Grant. Hi, everyone. I'm Younes. I'm head of product at Wallaroo. And yeah, today I wanted to share some insights on our recent launch of Wallaroo CE, which is a community edition of our enterprise platform. So as Grant mentioned, we are basically specializing on this thing called the last mile of ML. So we're an MLOps platform helping our enterprise customers basically realize the return on their investment in AI and ML by seamlessly integrating in their ecosystem and environment. So by seamlessly integrating their ecosystem and environment, we are an install-based software. So because of the multitude of platforms that you can see there around, model development, you think of Databricks, you think of all the, the platforms, Vertex, SageMaker, in addition to the frameworks that are out there. Our value proposition with our product is really that we are able to integrate seamlessly within those environments, whether it's a cloud environment or an on-prem environment or even at the edge. So we essentially, to go back and give a little bit of story about Replicated and how we started working with them, we were going to build and develop our own installer, and looking at the basically the effort that it was going to take us and the product velocity hit that we were going to take from it, we started actually looking at the possibility of partnering with a company that can help us essentially streamline the process of installing and integrating our software in a customer's environment while we actually focus our energy and capacity on developing our core product, which is the MLOps platform itself. So that's where we started working with and partnering with the Replicated team, and we all have a lot of great things to say about our partnership with Replicated as part of the developing this enterprise platform that our customers, Fortune 50, Fortune 500, love and basically enjoy using. So we capitalized on the learnings from the enterprise platform to actually go ahead and build basically a community offering of that product. The reason we wanted to build a community offering was to essentially to start promoting our thought leadership and perspective around MLOps. Obviously, we think about MLOps differently. We think about MLOps as a value-driven approach to achieving your return on AI versus some of the thoughts around it being more of a tooling and a set of features to basically put models in production, which is something that we do, but we're trying to go beyond that mechanical definition and have more of a value-driven definition to it. So we wanted to share the thoughts around it, promote some collaboration with the ML community on basically the common challenges that we solve in this space. It's new, it's rapidly evolving. How can we actually collaborate effectively with the community out there and give them, show them how our product thinks and solves these problems. And also, from a, selfishly being the head of product at Wallaroo, it's an opportunity to get product insights and validate the direction that we're taking on specific features and use cases. And, last but not least, I mentioned that we're looking to continue to raise awareness about our approach to solving the last mile of ML. So this is really something that is critical for us this year. One of the biggest initiatives, we have 3 big initiatives this year in 2022, and one of them is the community offering. So again, we went through the same set of questions internally, as in what are the requirements, what do we need to do, and quite honestly, we were same thing. We're going to build the community installation following these requirements, as in we want it to be simple. We wanted to have the integrated pre-flight checks. We wanted to have the version tracking, updates, and upgrade. It needed to be fully self-service, but with the necessary controlled licenses and feature flagging, so we can actually figure out the proper usage and make sure that customers or users from the community who are installing our product are not necessarily putting themselves in a capacity where they treat it as an enterprise platform. It's truly a community offering. And of course, it is, we had tight timelines around it, so we need to launch as soon as possible. Again, the initiative was kicked off in February, with the first launch being around late March, early April. So those are the requirements we're working with. again, same thing as enterprise. Picked up the phone, called the replicated team. Hey, we're looking to launch our community offering. Do you have anything that can help us essentially speed that up? The short answer was yes. Your timing is perfect. We just launched our community licensing offer. So can you, let's take a look at what you're doing. Does it help solve these requirements? And the short answer is that yes, it did help solve all these requirements. Really, it's when we started the work on it, at least from my perspective, because on the product side, because a lot of our engineers are the ones working directly with the replicated team on these problems, I have not heard a single thing around, oh, replicated didn't allow us to do this, or everything was really smooth in terms of leveraging the community offering, having the necessary version tracking, updates, upgrades, as I mentioned. The feature flagging works like a charm. We're able to limit the usage of the product because, again, it's a community offer. And of course, in terms of launch, again, the conversation started in mid-February. By early April, we were up and running in production with our community offering. So again, just to give you some quick notes on the timeline, I started at Wallaroo in early February. Started the conversation with Replicated mid-February. By early April, we're up and running with the community edition. So I'll let you come up with the numbers, but at least for to close this presentation, I just wanted to share what the community offer looks like. So this is actually our Wallaroo community offering on one of the first releases of community called Torino, installed with the community licenses. This is the admin console running on the replicated admin console running the Wallaroo license. And in terms of development time savings, again, we estimated that we were able to cut roughly 6 months of development if we were to go about this, on our own, just for the community offering. For the enterprise side, we shared some numbers earlier that were around like 12 to 18 months worth of development that Replicated were able to save us. In terms of, the launch timeline, just shared that it was basically less than 2 months. And the metric that we love dearly at Wallaroo is the average installation time across the 3 cloud environments, which is 20 minutes. So on average, we install, our customers up and running with their Wallaroo installer in 20 minutes, which is, very, very impressive to them. That's something that, as a Series A company, our investors were impressed with, and our customers and users continue to be impressed with. So, this is a super important metric for us that we're going to continue to make sure we maintain at this standard. So that's really all I had and all I wanted to share today. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have or anything around our community offering or the partnership with Replicated for that matter.
Amazing. Thank you. Do we have any questions that folks want to ask? I'll even open the floor to if any replicants want to ask any questions here. I'm sure, someone got a curious group, so.
Yeah, I'd love to ask one. Younes, how important is it for, specifically with the data science community being able to offer this community edition? Like, how do you feel like it kind of opens that transparency and sort of openness with, with machine learning and data science people who would adopt your platform?
Yeah, it's a bit, so MLOps is a bit of a controversial topic, especially when you talk about data scientists, because it's traditionally owned by the engineering side of the house when it comes to model deployment and more importantly, model monitoring and production. There is always this jump that, for data scientists, that they have to go to the production environment. It's not an environment that they're comfortable accessing because, the tooling is not appropriate for them, or it's not the necessary, it's not necessarily the right place for them to do model validation. Those are all preconceived notions that we're actually looking to challenge with our platform, because we simplify the process of, not only deploying the models, but also be up and running with a platform like that. So it was critical for us to be, it was as critical for us to streamline the process of deploying the model in the product as it is, to install the product itself by a data scientist, because the data scientist does not have the same skills as an ML engineer, a DevOps engineer when it comes to, understanding Kubernetes infrastructure. So the experience that we have with Replicated and also with our installation helps demystify some of those concerns or things that data scientists were certainly not keen on learning, but when they see how easy it is to install, they were able to essentially understand that yes, they can be involved more in the MLOps process and be able to participate in production ML, which is really one of the things that they are expected to be a part of.
Very interesting. I see we have a question from the audience as well. I know Dex, you had one, but I'll jump to the audience first. We have, does the Community Edition come with preset apps for demo purposes? And how did Replicated handle keeping those pipelines intact during deployment with things like container volume and networking management?
It's actually a really good question. So one of the things that Replicated helped us with is give us the places where we can have these presets around, especially like some flagging and features to streamline the installation. Because if you're an enterprise customer, you have to handle the networking on your own, and you have the capacity and the skill sets to do that. When you're in the context of community, especially you're a data scientist, those things are not necessarily available. So we were able to have the ability to configure these things in our replicated instance, so that when the installation takes place, these parameters are directly applied to the cloud environment in which the community license is installed. And at the end, the customer ends up with basically a web-based application with a fun Heroku type URL that they can access with a username and password and get up and running on their installation. So with these parameters, we're able to abstract away some of the networking configurations and complicated networking requirements that basically allow the data scientists to get up and running with their installation without having to call their DevOps friend or their ML engineer friends to get them up and running.
Cool. That's amazing.
Cool.
Dex, you've got a question.
A lot of folks ask me about the community stuff and when is it the right time to do a community program. I'd love maybe to hear a little bit about Wallaroo's kind of business goals around having a community edition. Now you decided to create one and you had these timelines for that you wanted to get it out. Is the goal there, is that kind of broader adoption? Is that a marketing thing? Is that about kind of generating qualified pipeline? Have you set goals around how many kind of like enterprise upsells you want to pull out of your community by finding qualified users? Like what is the kind of overarching reason behind wanting to pursue a community edition?
Yeah, so it's our true product-led growth strategy. It's really our community edition, because we want to have increased usage of our product and reach and raise awareness, honestly, about how we approach MLOps with the ML engineers and the data scientists. There are a lot of open source tools out there, and they all have their strengths and weaknesses, and we're coming there actually to basically help show that sometimes it doesn't have to be a complicated engineering only tool. You have tools that are that can get you started, but they also allow you to scale, because that's really the premise of Wallaroo is not about that first or second model that you're deploying, is more when you start to get to 10, 20, 50, 1,000, that's when you start seeing the benefits of it. So we're basically given it's a proof of value, for the lack of a better word, to the community about Wallaroo. So, and at the same time, a new way for them to think about the challenges that they're facing when they try to put a model in production. There are certainly, again, we're thought leaders in the space. We're trying to share our perspective around what it means to achieve the last mile of machine learning. And I'm not going to lie and say that we're not looking to convert one of these community users into enterprise customers. It is also part of our strategy. We have some targets for this year. They're not very ambitious because we're just starting. We're looking to basically get to one enterprise customer out of the community. But the idea is that as the program continues to ramp up, we'll have some more aggressive targets for 2023. So that's really the idea. There's the awareness portion, but there's also the certainly the unlocking a new sales pipeline, for the lack of a better word, that we can acquire, through which we can acquire enterprise customers.
Cool. Thanks. Grant, do we have time for one more follow-up
Sure.
question on that? Last one there is like, how did you decide, and what did you decide to make different between the community? Like, what do you use the community version to limit? How did you decide, what do people get if they do kind of get the full version versus community? And like, how did you leverage Replicated to kind of support that?
Yeah, so what our pricing model is consumption based. So we know that our users and customers consume basically our deployment engine. So it's the number of deployments that they can do within our enterprise product, which drive the consumption of our product itself, usage, but also the consumption of their own infrastructure. So playing with these two parameters, we actually, or keeping these two parameters in mind, that's what we played with in terms of the community edition. So we structured our licensing limiters around consumption. So we limited the number of users that can log on, which means we end up limiting the number of pipelines or deployments that these users can make. At this point, we do one-to-one. So one user can do one deployment. This is a way for each user to basically, when they log on, they can into one given instance, they can compare nodes across their deployments. And then the third one is really the CPU consumption, which is the, as I mentioned earlier, we don't want customers to get to a point where they're running an expensive community edition. It's supposed to be free
Gotcha.
in terms of the license, but it's not supposed to blow up your compute bill. So we limited also what the platform can consume in terms of compute power and CPUs. So that's really what we ended up limiting, and we just had those parameters in our installed instance, so that as their configurations, as you install, we just look those up and we'll limit the pipelines that you deploy. The compute consumption, obviously we track the active users in the platform, so against the limits that we have set.
Yeah, that's really cool. I've never heard of anybody limiting the actual compute consumption by the application before. That's super interesting.
And a question came in around that, which is, how does Replicated enforce limiting compute power?
For us, it's really just it's a custom field that we put in our Replicated app, and our code actually looks that up. So as you install, the reason we have it that way is because in the event where someone would want to upgrade to an enterprise offering, Replicated already offers us the ability to change the license type. And as you change the license type, we can also change the configurations that come with it. So in terms of these limits, they can be removed as someone upgrades to an enterprise offer. So we treat Replicated truly as our admin console when it comes to all of these configurations, these like knobs that we turn for our users. We centralize everything there, and that's how we essentially allow for these things to be controlled.
Great. That's what I was hoping. That's perfect. Other questions? Younes, this has been amazing. I'm really. Oh, we got one more.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll follow up to that question I just had.
Sure.
Why not use the license API to
So,
do the enforcement? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, actually, we use that too. Forgot
Okay.
to mention. We use the license API as a way to. So it's two things. It's how we supply the license. So we do have our community portal. If you go to portal.wallaroo.community, you enter your name and you click submit. That goes actually to the Replicated API to generate the license and send it to the user. The thing is we those are things that today we are not given the users the ability to choose from, as in like how many users do you want, how many CPUs you want to use. Those are things that we set just to start. That's how we're, it's how we define the product to go in. But the reason is that we don't want to make it too complicated for the users to get our product. If we add more steps, then we see a drop off. But as we get additional feedback, and if we start seeing, preferences towards, I want to, work with this type of usage. I want to, limit the compute power. Like you're giving me 32 CPUs, I just want to use 16. Those are things that we can start exposing as part of that community portal, which will definitely continue to leverage the API. So the licenses are generated according to those user selections. But we have not introduced that yet. We didn't see the need yet, but yeah, I can see that changing in the future.
All right, thanks. Great, good question. All right. Younes, this was incredibly helpful. I really appreciate your work there and sharing that with us. I did send a link to the portal.wallaroo.community to the chat, so folks can check that out and take a last mile ML ops for a spin. So
absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks, Younes.
Thank you.